There is a kind of loneliness that is different from being physically alone. It is the loneliness that appears even when there are people around you. When you sit in a room full of voices, but none of them reach your heart. When you laugh with your friends, but something inside you remains silent. When you wake up next to someone, but your soul feels completely distant. This is the loneliness that hurts the most. And what's even more painful is that we often don't know how to explain it. We just feel it. A silence that follows us everywhere. A weight in the chest that no one else seems to see. A feeling of being invisible in the middle of the crowd. If you have ever felt this kind of loneliness, if you feel it right now, I want you to know that Jesus spoke directly to this. Not in a shallow way, not in a you'll be fine, just think positive way, but in a deep, transformative, spiritual way that cuts through the silence and reaches the place where your soul has been hiding. Today, in this video, we are going to explore the answer Jesus gave to those who feel alone, even when surrounded by people. Because his answer wasn't just an idea, it was an invitation, a path, a truth that changes how you see yourself and how you see God. So breathe slowly, settle your thoughts, because what you are about to hear might be the moment your loneliness finally starts to dissolve. Most people think loneliness happens because we don't have enough people in our lives. But you know that this isn't true. Some of the loneliest moments happen at family dinners, in relationships, while scrolling through social media, during conversations that feel forced, while pretending everything is okay. Loneliness isn't about the number of people around you. Loneliness is about the lack of connection within you. And here is something you need to hear. You are not strange. You are not weak. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are human. And Jesus understood this part of you better than anyone. He saw people who were surrounded by crowds, yet felt abandoned inside. He saw hearts that were full of noise on the outside, but empty in the center. And this is where his answer begins. There is a moment in the Gospels that many people don't realize is about loneliness. It happens when Jesus is surrounded by a massive crowd, a crowd so large that people were pressing against him from every side. Imagine that for a moment. Hundreds of voices, hands reaching out, people calling his name, movement everywhere, noise, chaos, humanity completely surrounding him. And yet, in the middle of the crowd, Jesus stops. Something invisible catches his attention. He turns and says, "Who touched me?" The disciples look confused. They say, "Master, the crowd is literally all around you. Everyone is touching you." But Jesus wasn't talking about physical touch. He was talking about the touch of a lonely heart, a heart desperate for connection, a heart reaching for him silently, a heart that no one else saw. Jesus noticed the person that the crowd ignored. He always notices the invisible ones. And this moment reveals something powerful. Jesus can distinguish the touch of a single lonely soul, even in a sea of people. He sees the one who feels unseen. He hears the one who never speaks out loud. He feels the one who thinks no one cares. This is his nature. You are not lost in the crowd, not to him. Now, let's stop and talk honestly. There are many reasons why a person can feel alone, even in company. Jesus addressed them all in different ways, but here are the most common. You feel unseen, even when others are looking at you. People may see your face, but they don't see your battles. You feel unheard. Your words come out, but no one listens deeply. You feel misunderstood. You try to explain what you feel, but no one truly gets it. You feel emotionally disconnected. You are present physically, but your heart is somewhere else. You feel spiritually empty. You try to fill your life with people, but the emptiness remains. You carry pain that you don't trust anyone else to touch. So you protect yourself, even if it isolates you. Jesus understood every single one of them, and he responded to them not with psychology alone, but with a spiritual truth that changes everything. There is a phrase Jesus said, one that most people read quickly and never fully understand, a phrase that heals loneliness at its root. Jesus said, "I am with you always." Notice something. He didn't say, "I am with you when you feel me. I am with you when you are strong. I am with you when other people are beside you." He said, "Always," which means when you feel abandoned, when you feel invisible, when you cry silently, when you sit in a room pretending everything is fine, when you go to sleep feeling empty, when you wake up and don't feel like yourself, when you feel disconnected from everyone, he is still there. Loneliness tells you a lie. You are by yourself, but Jesus speaks a truth. You have never been alone. Even when your emotions numb you, even when your thoughts isolate you, even when your circumstances overwhelm you, your feelings don't determine his presence. Your fear doesn't cancel his closeness. Your loneliness doesn't push him away. In fact, loneliness is often the moment when his presence becomes the most real. There is another moment in the Bible where Jesus approaches someone who feels alone, misunderstood, rejected, and disconnected inside, the woman at the well. She went to the well at noon, the hottest hour of the day. Why? Because she didn't want to see anyone. She didn't want to hear people whispering about her. She didn't want to face the judgment in their eyes. She preferred solitude, not because she liked it, but because people had become painful. Maybe you understand this. Sometimes loneliness feels safer than relationships that hurt you. But Jesus meets her there, in the place where she thought no one would see her. And he speaks to the hidden places of her soul, the places she avoided. He reveals that he knows her story, and yet he doesn't turn away. Here is Jesus's message in that moment. I know you fully, and I am not leaving. This is the cure for emotional loneliness, being fully known and fully loved. No human relationship can guarantee this, but Jesus can. Loneliness begins to lose its grip when you realize you are fully seen by the one who never turns away. There is something deeper beneath loneliness, something Jesus exposes gently. Many people feel alone because they don't feel connected to themselves. Their inner world is fragmented. Their thoughts and emotions don't match. They wear masks so often that they forget who they truly are. Jesus comes to restore the connection within you. He doesn't just want to be near you. He wants to put you back together. They don't feel connected to purpose. When you don't know why you're here, everything feels empty. Relationships feel shallow. Conversations feel meaningless. Jesus gives direction. He turns wandering souls into purposeful lives. They don't feel connected to God. Spiritual loneliness, the deepest one. Jesus came to bridge this distance, to reconnect the heart of humanity to the heart of God. This is why he says, "Abide in me, and I will abide in you." He doesn't say, "Visit me." He says, "Abide, live, dwell, remain." Loneliness fades when the soul returns to its true home. One of the most profound things Jesus taught is that the kingdom of God is within you, meaning God is not far. He is not distant. He is not unreachable. He is not silent. You don't have to climb a mountain. You don't have to wait for a sign.
You don't have to earn his attention. He is already near. The same presence that walked beside the disciples walks with you in your most silent hours. You are not lacking people. You are longing for presence, and his presence is already with you. Before we go deeper into his answer for your loneliness, we need to look at something many people forget. Jesus himself experienced the deepest form of loneliness. And not just once. There are moments in the life of Jesus that show he understands your loneliness far better than you might imagine. He was surrounded by crowds, but few understood him. People followed him for miracles, not for relationship. Many wanted something from him, not him himself. Maybe you know this feeling. People come near you for what you give, but not for who you are. Jesus understands that. Even his closest friends failed to stay awake with him. In his darkest hour, he asked Peter, James, and John, "Stay with me. Keep watch with me." But they fell asleep. He wasn't asking for a miracle. He wasn't asking for strength from them. He was simply asking for presence, and they couldn't give it. Have you ever asked for something simple, just someone to stay, listen, support you, and they vanished? Jesus understands that too. On the cross, he felt abandoned. He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" This is the ultimate loneliness, feeling separated even from God. He felt it so that you wouldn't have to live in it forever. This means that Jesus' answer to loneliness doesn't come from theory. It comes from experience. Raw, painful human experience. He isn't speaking to your loneliness. He is speaking from the places he walked through himself. And this makes his answer even more powerful. One of the first things Jesus teaches, not with words, but with his life, is that being physically alone is not the same as being lonely. Jesus often withdrew to be alone. He went to mountains, deserts, silent places, not because he felt abandoned, but because he was connected from the inside. Some people are alone and at peace, and some people are surrounded and empty. Loneliness is not about company. It's about connection. This is what Jesus wants to restore. He doesn't promise that you'll always have people around you. He promises something deeper. You will no longer be disconnected from yourself, from God, or from your purpose. When inner connection is restored, outer loneliness loses its power. Jesus never forced people to pretend they were okay. He never said, "Be strong, hide your emotions, fix yourself before coming to me. Don't show your weakness." He said the opposite. "Come to me. Come tired. Come broken. Come confused. Come disappointed. Come hurting. Come lonely." Jesus always started healing with honesty, because loneliness grows in silence, secrecy, hiding, pretending. So the first step Jesus gives you today is simple. Be honest with him about how you feel, not with fancy words, not with religious vocabulary, not with edited emotions, just honest. Here's the truth. Jesus can heal anything you bring to him, but he won't touch the things you hide. You don't have to impress him. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify your loneliness. Just bring it to him. There is no healing without honesty. Loneliness isn't healed by adding more people. It's healed by allowing Jesus into the deepest places inside you. This is where most people struggle. They let Jesus into their beliefs, but not into their wounds, into their prayers, but not into their memories, into their Sundays, but not into their secrets. Loneliness exists because there is a room inside you. It's about connection. This is what Jesus wants to restore. He doesn't promise that you'll always have people around you. He promises something deeper.
You will no longer be disconnected from yourself, from God, or from your purpose. When inner connection is restored, outer loneliness loses its power. Jesus never forced people to pretend they were okay. He never said, "Be strong, hide your emotions, fix yourself before coming to me. Don't show your weakness." He said the opposite. "Come to me. Come tired. Come broken. Come confused. Come disappointed. Come hurting. Come lonely." Jesus always started healing with honesty. Because loneliness grows in silence, secrecy, hiding, pretending. So the first step Jesus gives you today is simple. Be honest with him about how you feel. Not with fancy words, not with religious vocabulary, not with edited emotions, just honest. Here's the truth. Jesus can heal anything you bring to him, but he won't touch the things you hide. You don't have to impress him. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify your loneliness. Just bring it to him. There is no healing without honesty. Loneliness isn't healed by adding more people. It's healed by allowing Jesus into the deepest places inside you. This is where most people struggle. They let Jesus into their beliefs, but not into their wounds. Into their prayers, but not into their memories. Into their Sundays, but not into their secrets. Loneliness exists because there is a room inside you that no one has entered. A room locked with fear, shame, disappointment, trauma, or self-protection. Jesus stands at the door of that room and says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." He doesn't invade, he invites. He doesn't force, he waits. Jesus wants access to the room where your loneliness lives, not to judge it, not to shame it, but to heal what has been hiding there for years. Imagine letting him in. Imagine not having to carry the weight alone. Imagine not hiding anymore. This is what dissolves loneliness from the inside out. Here is something powerful. Most loneliness comes from losing sight of who you really are. When you forget who you are, you start depending on people to tell you. You wait for validation. You wait for acceptance. You wait for someone to call you important. You wait for someone to notice you. You wait for someone to give you a sense of belonging. But Jesus says something radically different. You are mine. Your identity does not come from people. It comes from God. So he reminds you, you are chosen. You are seen. You are loved. You are wanted. You are valuable. You are not forgotten. You belong. When you rediscover who you are in him, loneliness loses its foundation. Because loneliness often grows in the space where identity is missing. When you know who you are, you stop begging for connection and start living from connection. Jesus' answer to loneliness is not abstract. It is not poetic or symbolic. It is literal. His presence fills the places where people cannot reach. Here is the spiritual truth. You can be surrounded by people and still empty. And you can be completely alone and still full. Because fullness does not come from company. It comes from divine presence. Jesus said, "My peace I give to you." Not the peace of distractions. Not the peace of temporary comfort. Not the peace of external validation. A peace that fills the deepest spaces of who you are. When the presence of Jesus fills you, the emptiness loses its voice. People become a blessing, not a band-aid. Company becomes a joy, not a lifeline. You stop needing people to heal you and start enjoying people from a healed place. This is what true spiritual connection does. Loneliness is often the moment when God speaks the loudest,
But we're used to filling the silence with noise. We distract ourselves, we turn on something, we scroll, we avoid, we resist stillness. But Jesus often speaks in the quiet moments, in the moments when you feel the most alone. Because loneliness creates space for His whisper, space for His presence, space for His guidance. He says, "My sheep hear my voice," meaning you are capable of hearing Him. You were designed to hear Him. Loneliness is sometimes the doorway through which His voice becomes clear. What if the silence you hate is the place where He is calling your name? What if the emptiness you feel is where He wants to fill you from the inside? What if your loneliness is a divine invitation? Jesus turns your lonely places into sacred spaces. Jesus does not want you to just feel less lonely. He wants something far deeper, to transform your loneliness into intimacy. To take the place that once felt cold and empty and fill it with connection, warmth, purpose, and identity. To turn the silence that once hurt you into the silence where you meet God. To transform emotional isolation into spiritual closeness. How does He do this? He restores your identity. You stop needing others to complete you. He heals your inner wounds. You stop protecting yourself with walls. He fills your heart with His presence. You stop depending on external validation. He teaches you to hear His voice. You stop being lost inside yourself. He connects you to purpose. You stop drifting without meaning. When these 5 things happen, something incredible takes place. You stop feeling alone, even when you are alone. And when you are with people, the connection becomes deeper, richer, healthier, more genuine, because it no longer comes from need, but from abundance. This is the transformation Jesus offers. There is one final promise of Jesus, one that is the foundation of everything we are talking about. A promise that, when you truly understand it, loneliness loses its grip forever. Jesus said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." Read it again. Never. Not sometimes, not when you're strong, not when you're successful, not when you're surrounded, not when you're failing, not when you're doubting, not when you're afraid, not when you don't feel worthy, not when you feel empty, not when you feel lost. He doesn't leave. He doesn't change His mind. He doesn't get tired of you. He doesn't look for someone better. His presence is not fragile. His love is not conditional. His commitment is not temporary. This promise destroys loneliness at its root, because loneliness says, "I am alone." But Jesus says, "You are mine and I am here." When you understand this, your soul becomes anchored, your heart becomes steady, your mind becomes peaceful. This is the answer Jesus gives you. The answer that begins to dissolve loneliness from the inside out. Before Jesus heals loneliness, He gently reveals something most people never notice. Loneliness often creates defense mechanisms. You don't choose them consciously. They build themselves over time, quietly, like walls rising brick by brick inside you. These defenses are not meant to hurt you. Ironically, they were built to protect you. But the same walls that keep people from hurting you also keep people from reaching you. Let's talk about some of these defenses Jesus often addresses. The wall of self-reliance. You learn to depend on yourself because depending on others disappointed you. You say, "I'm fine. I don't need help. I can handle it." But inside, you feel the weight no one sees. Jesus understands, and He whispers, "Come to me, all who are weary." The wall of numbness. You stopped feeling because feeling hurts. You don't cry anymore. You don't laugh the same way. You don't get excited easily. You're not cold, you're exhausted. Jesus sees this too. The wall of overthinking. You stay in your head because your heart feels unsafe. You analyze every conversation, every decision, every word. Loneliness thrives in mental noise. Jesus calms storms, both outside and inside. The wall of overperforming. You try to be perfect so you won't be rejected. You hope that if you stay useful, you won't be left behind. But loneliness doesn't care about how much you do. Jesus is the only one who loves you without conditions. The wall of distrust. You've been hurt, misunderstood, betrayed, abandoned. So you keep your heart tucked away. Jesus doesn't break down your walls by force. He heals you until the walls fall on their own. These defenses are not your identity. They are wounds disguised as protection. And Jesus knows how to heal them gently. Jesus never pushes through walls. He waits until your heart is ready to unlock them. Remember his words, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." A knock is gentle. A knock is patient. A knock respects the boundary. He doesn't kick the door. He doesn't force entry. He doesn't demand access. Why? Because love cannot invade. Love must be invited. Jesus heals loneliness by entering the parts of your heart that have been closed for years. How does he enter? Through honesty, through silence, through prayer, through stillness, through surrender, through the moments when you finally stop pretending you're okay. His presence begins where your performance ends. When you stop trying to impress him, your heart becomes accessible again. When you stop pretending you're fine, he steps into the truth. When you finally say, "Jesus, I feel alone," you open the door he has been knocking on for so long. This moment, this honesty, is where healing begins. Feeling unseen is one of the deepest pains a human heart can experience. It's not just that people don't notice you physically, it's that they don't understand what's happening inside you. But Jesus doesn't just see you, he understands you. He understands your silence, the silence where words fail. He understands your tears, the tears you wipe before anyone notices. He understands your exhaustion, the kind you can't explain to anyone. He understands your numbness. Even when you feel nothing, he knows why. He understands your longing, the longing for connection, for someone who truly hears you, for someone who understands without needing explanations. Jesus doesn't require explanations. He already sees the story behind every emotion. He understands the wounds, the confusion, the disappointments, the betrayals, the hidden fears, the buried memories. And he understands the loneliness you don't speak about. Loneliness ends where understanding begins, and he understands you completely. People often try to fix loneliness with activity. They join groups, they stay busy, they work more, they fill their schedule, they keep themselves distracted so they won't feel the emptiness. But Jesus doesn't say, stay busy, run faster, hide the pain, distract yourself. Jesus says, come to me and I will give you rest. Rest is not sleep. Rest is not free time. Rest is not distraction. Rest is the place where your soul breathes again, where your heart stops fighting, where your mind stops racing, where your fears stop shouting, where your loneliness stops echoing. Rest is where you stop feeling like you have to fix yourself. Jesus offers rest that no human relationship can give. Why? Because loneliness is not cured by the presence of people, but by the presence of God. People can comfort you, but only Jesus can restore you. There is a moment in every believer's life, a sacred, quiet turning point, where loneliness begins to crumble. When you realize you are not invisible to God. When this truth sinks in, something shifts inside you. You stop feeling like a background character in your own story. You stop feeling like God is busy with everyone else. You stop feeling forgotten. Jesus revealed this truth countless times. He saw Zacchaeus hiding in a tree. He saw Nathanael sitting under a fig tree alone. He saw the woman at the well trying to avoid everyone. He saw the man at the pool who no one helped. He saw Mary crying alone in the garden. He saw the sick, the rejected, the overlooked. Every story is the same message. God sees who others overlook. You are not hidden. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not unnoticed. God sees you in the moments even you don't see yourself clearly. When this becomes real, loneliness loses one of its greatest weapons, the lie that no one notices you, because Jesus notices you deeply. There is a specific type of loneliness Jesus often heals, one that very few people can explain. The loneliness that comes when you feel out of place because your soul is being called to something greater. This is the loneliness of purpose. When your spirit senses you're being prepared for more, but the world around you doesn't understand. Examples: you feel disconnected from the people around you, not because you don't love them, but because you're growing beyond them. You feel like your old habits don't fit anymore. You feel a spiritual awakening that others around you don't share. You feel like God is calling you deeper, but you can't explain it to anyone. Jesus experienced this too. His purpose created distance, not because he didn't love people, but because he carried a calling that others couldn't understand. Sometimes what you call loneliness is actually transition. God is separating you from the noise so you can hear his direction. This loneliness is not a punishment, it is preparation. When purpose grows louder, old connections grow quieter. And Jesus says, "Follow me." Not follow the crowd, not follow expectations, follow him. Purpose often begins in loneliness because God needs your attention before giving you assignment. Jesus prayed alone in the garden. He cried alone in the garden. He struggled alone in the garden. But in the garden, something happened. Loneliness became intimacy. Silence became surrender. Fear became courage. Weakness became strength. Isolation became purpose. Your garden moment is where Jesus meets you. Not in the crowded places, not in the noisy places, not in the places where you pretend to be strong, but in the places where you feel most alone. Your garden is the place where God forms you. Loneliness is not wasted when placed in the hands of Jesus. He transforms it into the deepest relationship you will ever know. There is a moment after the resurrection where a woman named Mary Magdalene stands outside the tomb. She is crying, confused, heartbroken, lonely, lost, believing everything has fallen apart. Jesus appears, but she doesn't recognize him. Her entire world changes with one word. Because everything changes when Jesus calls you personally. Loneliness begins to break when he speaks your name through a verse. He whispers to your heart in prayer. He touches you through a moment of peace. He comforts you when no one else knows you're hurting. He reminds you that you are his. When he calls your name, your heart awakens again. This is the moment he is preparing you for. One of the most painful forms of loneliness is spiritual loneliness. That moment when you believe in God, you talk to him, you seek him, but you don't feel him. And this creates a deep ache inside your soul. You wonder, is God distant? Is he ignoring me? Has he forgotten me? Am I not spiritual enough? Did I do something wrong? But here is the truth Jesus gently reveals. Your ability to feel Him does not determine His presence. God is not measured by your emotions. He is present even when your heart is numb. He is listening even when your prayers feel empty. He is guiding even when you feel lost. He is holding you even when you feel nothing. Sometimes God withdraws the feeling so He can deepen the faith. Because if your relationship with Him depended only on emotions, you would collapse every time emotions changed. So what does Jesus do in this spiritual silence? He walks with you quietly. Not loudly, not dramatically, not visibly. Quiet enough for you to learn to trust Him. Quiet enough for you to grow. Quiet enough for loneliness to lose its power. You may not feel Him, but He feels every beat of your heart. There are nights when you don't want to talk to anyone, not because you don't care, but because your soul is tired. Tired of explaining, tired of pretending, tired of feeling misunderstood, tired of carrying emotions that have no words. These are the nights when Jesus comes closest. He sits with you in the silence. He listens to the thoughts you can't organize. He holds the tears you don't cry. He accompanies you in the heaviness you don't describe. Jesus does not require you to speak to comfort you. He comforts you in the language of presence, a language deeper than words. Do you know why you feel an unexpected peace sometimes late at night? A sudden calm? A small relief? A sense of being held? That is Him. He visits you in the hour when everyone else sleeps, when the world is quiet, when your heart is vulnerable. He chooses the moments when you feel most alone to show you that you are not. Loneliness is not just emotional. It becomes a battlefield. There's a war between your desire to connect and your fear of being hurt again. Your desire to trust and your fear of disappointment. Your desire to open your heart and your fear of losing people. Your desire to heal and your fear of revisiting old wounds. This battle is invisible to everyone else, but God sees every detail of it. And the most powerful truth Jesus says is this: the battle is not yours, it is mine. You're not fighting alone. Not the overthinking, not the fear, not the anxiety, not the emptiness, not the self-doubt, not the spiritual dryness. God fights battles you don't even realize are battles. He protects you from burdens you don't know He lifted. He guards you from attacks you never felt. Some victories happen quietly. Some breakthroughs happen internally. Some healing happens before you even notice it. Loneliness makes you feel unprotected, but you are surrounded by a God who is never passive. He is fighting for you, even when you are too tired to fight for yourself. People fear emptiness. They fill it with noise, with relationships, with entertainment, with busyness, with distractions, with anything that prevents silence. But Jesus does not fear emptiness. He moves toward it. He sees emptiness not as a flaw, but as a space ready to be filled by His presence. You may think your emptiness is a sign something is wrong with you, but to Jesus, your emptiness is an open door. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," not because being empty is pleasant, but because emptiness creates space for God. Jesus cannot fill a heart that is already full of noise. He fills the heart that finally has room. Your emptiness is not a curse. It is preparation. When you feel empty, you are ready for something eternal. And Jesus loves filling what life drained. The Bible says God speaks through dreams, through whispers, through the soul's deep places. But there is a mystery many overlook. When you sleep, God restores you, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, internally. While your mind rests and your heart stops carrying the day's weight, Jesus ministers to the places you cannot reach when awake. There are nights when you fall asleep crying and wake up calmer. You go to bed exhausted and wake up lighter. You sleep anxious and wake up with unexpected peace. This is not a coincidence. God works while you sleep. The psalmist says he gives rest to his beloved. Rest is not just recovery, it is divine repair. Your soul is receiving comfort even when you are unconscious. He restores dreams, clears fears, softens wounds, strengthens the spirit, whispers identity, renews hope, stabilizes emotions.
Jesus works on you while you sleep, because he knows sleep is the only moment when you stop resisting healing. Maybe you see your sensitivity as a weakness because you feel deeply, because you notice things others ignore, because you get hurt easily, because emotions overwhelm you, because silence affects you, because words stick to your heart. You think sensitivity is your problem, but to Jesus, sensitivity is your calling. A sensitive heart loves deeply, forgives sincerely, discerns spiritually, perceives pain others hide, connects with God profoundly, feels God's presence with clarity, carries compassion, heals others without noticing. People who feel deeply suffer deeply, but they also love deeply, understand deeply, and reflect God deeply. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a gift. And Jesus is not trying to toughen your heart. He is trying to strengthen it without hardening it. He made your heart soft on purpose. What if your loneliness has a mission? What if God is not wasting it, but shaping something inside you? People who have never felt loneliness cannot comfort those who are lonely. People who have never felt heartbreak cannot speak to those who are hurting. People who have never felt abandoned cannot lift those who feel forgotten. Your pain is creating compassion. Compassion is not pity. Compassion is divine sensitivity. Jesus had compassion for crowds because he felt what they felt. Your loneliness is teaching you to understand others deeply. It is forming a heart that can sit with someone in silence and know exactly what they need. God uses loneliness to forge healers, empaths, intercessors, encouragers, people with divine emotional intelligence. Your loneliness is building the heart of someone who will one day lift others. In loneliness, negative thoughts get loud. I'm not enough. I'm forgotten. I'm unlovable. I'm not chosen. I'm not important. I'm replaceable. These thoughts feel true because loneliness distorts vision. So Jesus speaks identity into the fog. You are mine. You are chosen. You are loved. You are seen. You are important. You are called. You are destined. You are not alone. Identity is not based on feelings. It is spoken by God. When Jesus speaks identity, loneliness loses its voice. You may feel alone, but you are never unloved. You may feel unseen, but you are never unnoticed. You may feel abandoned, but you are never forsaken. Jesus does not define you by what you feel. He defines you by who you are to him. There is a powerful moment in every believer's life. The moment you look back and see that the times you thought were the darkest were actually the times Jesus carried you. When you cried yourself to sleep, he was the one whispering peace into your spirit. When you felt abandoned, he was the one holding your heart together. When you lost people, he was the one who stayed. When you didn't know what direction to take, he was the one guiding your steps gently, silently, consistently. Loneliness lies. It convinces you that no one is there for you.
But Jesus was always there, in ways you didn't recognize at the time. You didn't walk alone. You didn't suffer alone. You didn't heal alone. You didn't survive on your own strength. There were invisible hands holding you when your own hands were trembling. There was divine protection when danger came near. There was supernatural comfort when your heart was breaking. And one day, you will look back and realize that the footprints beside yours were never yours alone. They were His. Maybe the loneliness you feel comes from unanswered prayers. You prayed for healing, but the pain stayed. You prayed for direction, but silence remained. You prayed for companionship, but solitude deepened. You prayed for change, but nothing moved. And a silent question rises in your heart. Is God ignoring me? But Jesus reveals something important. Delays are not rejections. Silence is not abandonment. Waiting is not punishment. Sometimes God answers immediately. Sometimes He answers slowly. Sometimes He answers differently. And sometimes He is answering in a way you do not yet understand. When God is silent, He is not absent. He is working. The seed in the soil is silent, but it is growing. The healing in your heart is silent, but it is happening. The breakthrough in your life is silent, but it is forming. The silence of God is the language of preparation. And one day, what didn't make sense will become the testimony you share with others. Your unanswered prayers are not forgotten. They are being transformed. We live in a world of instant everything, instant messages, instant responses, instant gratification, instant entertainment. But Jesus heals slowly, not because He is unwilling to help, but because He desires transformation, not temporary relief. Quick healing removes pain. Slow healing removes the cause of pain. Quick healing comforts emotions.
Slow healing reshapes identity. Quick healing feels good. Slow healing builds strength. The slow miracle is the deeper one. That's why Jesus takes His time with your trust, your heart, your wounds, your fears, your identity, your self-worth. Think of a broken bone. If you heal it too fast or incorrectly, it becomes fragile and easily damaged again. But when it heals properly, it becomes stronger than before it broke. That is what Jesus is doing with your soul. Your healing is not late. It is being done correctly. Loneliness often begins when God removes people from your life. At first, it feels like rejection, like abandonment, like loss. But later, you realize something deeper. Some people were removed to protect you. Some people were removed to redirect you. Some people were removed to grow you. Some people were removed because their presence was limiting you. And some people were removed because they could not go where God is taking you. You prayed for peace, so God removed the chaos. You prayed for clarity, so God removed the confusion. You prayed for purpose, so God removed the distractions. You prayed for intimacy with Him, so God removed idols. You prayed for healing, so God removed what kept reopening the wounds. God's subtractions are not losses, they are upgrades. Loneliness is often the first stage of elevation. Sometimes what hurts the most is the thing God is removing: attachments, expectations, old identities, relationships, habits, comfort zones, dreams that were never yours to carry. Loneliness begins when these things fall away. But the breaking is not punishment, it is freedom. Jesus breaks the lies you believed about yourself, the fears that controlled your decisions, the masks you used to hide, the wounds you never addressed, the cycles you kept repeating, the emotional prisons you thought were normal. He breaks what was breaking you, not to leave you empty, but to rebuild you whole. You cannot enter your destiny holding the things that were destroying you. And the loneliness you feel is not because you have nothing left, but because God is clearing space for something better. Every season of loneliness contains a spiritual gift hidden beneath the discomfort. Some examples: discernment. You begin to sense what aligns with your spirit and what does not. Sensitivity to God's voice. Silence makes His whispers clearer. Emotional maturity. You learn to sit with your feelings instead of running from them. Independence from external validation. You stop living for approval and start living from identity. Spiritual authority. You survive things that would destroy others, and this shapes your strength. Prayer depth. Loneliness pushes you into the presence of God. Purpose clarity. Disconnection leads to direction. The very area where you felt weakest is becoming the area where God is strengthening you the most. Your loneliness is not empty, it is educational. It is teaching your spirit the language of heaven. There comes a moment when Jesus steps into your life with authority, not softly, not silently, not gradually, but decisively. And He says, enough. Enough pain, enough confusion, enough fear, enough waiting, enough loneliness, enough self-doubt, enough emptiness. This is the turning point. The moment when the internal storm begins to calm. The moment when the memories lose their sting. The moment when tears start to heal instead of hurt. The moment when your heart breathes again. Healing begins when Jesus says, enough, and your spirit agrees. From that moment on, your thoughts change, your reactions change, your confidence changes, your hope revives, your vision clears, your heart softens, your spiritual sensitivity awakens. Jesus does not simply improve your life, He resurrects it. Loneliness is not the end, it is the transition. Every major move of God begins with isolation. Moses, alone in the desert before leading a nation. David, alone with sheep before becoming king. Joseph, alone in prison before rising to power. Paul, alone in Arabia before preaching to the world. Jesus, alone in the wilderness before beginning His ministry. Isolation precedes elevation. Your loneliness is not punishment, it is preparation. God is preparing a new chapter, a new identity, new relationships, new assignments, new opportunities, new spiritual authority, new confidence, a new version of you. What feels like loss is actually birth. What feels like silence is actually direction. What feels like emptiness is actually expansion. What feels like loneliness is actually divine transformation. Your next season will make this one make sense. Healing never begins with fireworks. It begins quietly. Before you see change on the outside, Jesus begins changing you on the inside. You think nothing is happening, but something is. You start seeing things differently. Not dramatically, just enough to notice that your reactions are softer. Your thoughts are less heavy. Your heart is not as fragile. You start letting go without forcing it. Old memories lose their power. Old wounds lose their voice. Old fears lose their grip. You begin wanting peace more than noise. You crave silence instead of distraction. Rest instead of chaos. Depth instead of superficiality. You begin choosing healing instead of coping. Your mind stands up for you. Your spirit defends you. Your heart begins to believe again. This is the quiet phase of transformation. The part no one sees, but everyone notices later. You don't wake up healed in one day. You wake up one day and realize you've been healing for a long time. Before life changes externally, God changes you internally. You may feel restless, disconnected, emotionally sensitive, spiritually awake, or strangely uncomfortable in places that used to feel normal. This is not instability. It is transition.
Your spirit is outgrowing environments that no longer match your calling. You're not losing interest in old things. You're rising above them. You're not withdrawing from people. You're being redirected to purpose. You're not becoming distant. You're becoming different. Jesus is preparing you for breakthroughs by detaching you from what would block them. When your spirit grows, your comfort zones shrink. This spiritual shift is the first sign that a new season is approaching. No matter how lonely you feel, there is something inside you that will not let go. A dream, a purpose, a gift, a desire, a calling, a fire. You tried ignoring it, but it keeps returning. You tried running from it, but it follows you. You tried convincing yourself that you weren't worthy of it, but it whispers anyway. This is not your imagination. This is Jesus reminding you of who you were created to become. Loneliness dims many voices, but it cannot silence purpose. The calling God placed in you cannot die, because it did not come from you. God planted what He intends to grow. Even in your darkest seasons, the seed is alive. Even in your silence, purpose pulses. Even when you doubt, the calling stands strong. You feel it because you were created for more than survival. You were created for destiny. Disappointment damages more than emotions. It damages your trust, your confidence, your hope, your expectations, your openness, your ability to believe in good things. Jesus rebuilds all of these, not quickly, but perfectly. He rebuilds trust by showing you that not everyone will leave. He rebuilds confidence by reminding you who He created you to be. He rebuilds hope by proving that pain is not the end. He rebuilds expectations by filling your life with better things than those you lost. He rebuilds your openness by healing the wounds that made you close your heart. He rebuilds your ability to love by pouring His love into the places that were empty. Disappointment shapes you, but Jesus restores you. He rebuilds you stronger than what broke you. You haven't lost yourself, you just lost access to the part of you that was buried under pain. But Jesus specializes in resurrection. There is a version of you that is still alive inside. The you who believed, the you who dreamed, the you who trusted, the you who loved deeply, the you who felt safe, the you who was confident, the you who felt chosen. This version didn't die. It went dormant, and Jesus is awakening it. He is reviving your passion, your innocence, your courage, your joy, your clarity, your emotional strength, your spiritual sensitivity. You don't need to become a new person. You need to become the person God always intended you to be. And that person is rising again. Loneliness often ends when God sends the right people. Not just any people, but people with purpose, people who understand your spirit, who don't drain you, who don't judge your sensitivity, who don't take advantage of your kindness, people who match your growth, who walk with you, not behind you, not ahead of you, with you. People who carry peace, not chaos, who make you feel safe, who speak life into you, who encourage your calling, people who remind you of Jesus. Through kindness, through loyalty, through gentleness, through compassion, people who stay. Not temporarily, not conditionally, genuinely. These are the people God is preparing while He prepares you. And when they arrive, you will understand why the wrong people left. Many think healing happens when life becomes perfect. But Jesus heals you even while circumstances remain imperfect. You may still have responsibilities. You may still face challenges. You may still carry memories. You may still be learning boundaries. You may still be building confidence. You may still feel fragile at times. And yet, you begin to feel peace.
Not constant, not overwhelming,
but present. A peace that doesn't depend on external stability. A peace that survives storms. A peace that doesn't collapse under pressure. A peace that replaces fear. A peace that holds you when nothing else does. Jesus heals you through peace, not perfection. You don't need a perfect life to feel God's presence. You need an available heart. And He meets you there. You will notice subtle changes before your breakthrough becomes visible. These are signs that your season of loneliness is coming to a close. You feel lighter for no reason. It's not happiness. It's healing. You stop craving what hurt you. Your spirit outgrows old attachments. You desire peace more than attention. Your priorities shift. You begin feeling grateful again, even for small things. You find comfort in God, not distraction. His presence becomes enough. You stop begging for closure. You give yourself permission to move forward. You sense newness approaching. Your spirit feels the shift before your mind understands it. These signs mean one thing. You are transitioning from loneliness to alignment. Jesus doesn't drag you into your future. He walks with you into it. He leads you, but He also listens. He guides you, but He also considers your heart. He opens doors, but He teaches you to walk confidently through them. Your future is not being shaped behind your back. It is being shaped with your participation, your growth, your surrender, your healing. God never writes a chapter without preparing the character first, and you are the character He is preparing. What is coming is not random. It is handcrafted. A future with meaning, with connection, with joy, with purpose, with spiritual maturity, with relational safety, with emotional stability, with divine favor. Your loneliness is not the story. It is the setup. The story begins when Jesus says, "Now." Jesus never made vague promises. He made personal ones. I am with you always. I will not leave you. I will give you rest. I will be your peace. I will be your shepherd. I will never forsake you. I have called you by name. You are mine. These are not poetic phrases. They are legal declarations from the King of the universe. Loneliness cannot cancel them. Pain cannot erase them. Fear cannot silence them. Circumstances cannot break them. His promise stands even when everything else collapses. You will not walk this world alone. Not now, not ever. Jesus is the answer for every lonely heart, including yours. There comes a moment, and it doesn't happen loudly, when you realize you aren't alone. You never were. You just didn't know who was standing with you. You look back at the nights you cried quietly, the days you held yourself together, the battles you fought without witnesses, the disappointments you swallowed silently, the decisions you made when no one understood. And suddenly, you see it. The invisible presence, the unspoken strength, the comfort you couldn't explain, the protection that didn't make sense, the endurance you didn't think you had. That was Jesus. He was there when you didn't feel Him. He was working when you thought nothing was happening. He was carrying you when you thought you were holding yourself up. Your loneliness wasn't empty. It was occupied by God. You weren't abandoned. You were accompanied by a presence deeper than human touch. This realization doesn't heal everything instantly, but it heals one thing permanently: the fear of being alone. You once hardened your heart because you had to, not because you wanted to, not because you were cold, but because you were trying to survive. Hardness was your shield. Distance was your safety. Silence was your protection. Indifference was your armor. But armor is heavy, and Jesus begins healing you by making your heart soft again. Not weak, soft. Not foolish, open. Not naive, pure. Not unprotected, guarded by Him. You begin to feel again, and at first it scares you. But then you realize feeling again is the proof that your heart is waking up. You're not losing strength. You're regaining humanity. Jesus doesn't harden hearts. He heals them until softness becomes strength again. For a long time, your mind was loud. Memories replaying, regrets repeating, possibilities haunting, questions echoing, voices you didn't choose speaking when you didn't want to listen. Then one day, for reasons you can't explain, the noise begins to fade. Not disappear, just soften. The things that used to control your thoughts no longer dominate you. The things that used to terrify you no longer possess you. The things that used to break you no longer define you. What happened? God silenced what you couldn't escape. He didn't remove your mind. He restored your peace. He didn't erase your memories. He removed their power. He didn't change your past. He changed the grip it had on you.
Healing happens when the volume of your spirit finally becomes louder than the volume of your fear. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix, a tiredness of the soul, a heaviness of the heart, a fatigue that comes from fighting battles no one else sees. But eventually, you stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing strength. You stop pretending you're okay. You stop wearing emotional armor. You stop carrying weights on your own. And in that moment, the moment your soul finally exhales, something sacred happens. Rest finds you. Not rest you earn, not rest you create, but rest that descends. A rest that wraps around you like a warm blanket. A rest that quiets you without asking anything from you. A rest that doesn't judge your weakness. This rest has a name. Jesus. He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not advice, not pressure, not expectations. Rest. The kind that heals you without demanding anything in return. You lost people. Some walked away, some drifted, some changed, some betrayed, some became distant, some were never meant to stay. And you thought it was rejection. You thought it was abandonment. You thought it was punishment. You thought it was your fault. But sometimes much later, you realize something holy. God wasn't taking people from you. He was making room for alignment, room for healing, room for destiny, room for joy, room for calling, room for the people who would honor you. God does not remove what you need. He removes what blocks what you need. Some people you wanted would have crushed your spirit later. Some people you loved couldn't love you with the depth you required. Some people you trusted could not walk where God was taking you. Loss is painful, but divine removal is protection. And everything God removes is replaced with something greater, not always immediately, but always intentionally. People saw your silence, but they didn't see your fight. They saw your calm, but they didn't see your storm. They saw your smile, but they didn't see your endurance. They saw your strength, but they didn't see the nights you almost fell apart. They saw the surface, but God saw everything beneath it. And while others saw nothing remarkable in you, God saw resilience. While others underestimated you, God strengthened you. While others dismissed your pain, God refined your character. While others walked away, God was preparing you for stages you don't even know about yet. The strength you have today was built in seasons where you thought you were failing. But you weren't failing, you were forming. Fear tries to convince you that tomorrow will look like yesterday. It tells you nothing will change, no one will stay. You will always struggle. You will always hurt. You will always be alone. You will always carry this. But Jesus interrupts fear with truth. He says, "I make all things new." Not some things, not the easy things, all things. Your future is not shaped by trauma.
It's shaped by hands that cannot fail. Your destiny is not chained to your past. It is written by a God who specializes in new beginnings. Your story is not ending. It is unfolding. Your life is not collapsing. It is being redirected. Your loneliness is not permanent. It is seasonal. Fear imagines the worst, but God plans the best. And His plans are not fragile. Human love is beautiful, but human love has limits. People can support you, but they cannot fill the emptiness of your soul. They can encourage you, but they cannot carry your spiritual weight. They can hold your hand, but they cannot hold your heart together. They can walk with you, but they cannot walk inside you. They can love your presence, but they cannot enter your loneliness. Jesus can. He doesn't just walk beside you, He walks within you. He doesn't just comfort your emotions, He restores your spirit. He doesn't just listen to your words, He hears your heartbeat. He doesn't just stay in the light, He sits with you in the dark. This is companionship that doesn't depend on circumstances, distance, performance, or perfection. This is love that cannot leave. The new beginning doesn't come with a trumpet. It comes quietly. You wake up one day and realize you're not hurting the same way. You're not afraid of the same things. You're not carrying the same weight. You're not replaying the same memories. You're not begging for the same people. You're not fighting the same battles. You've changed, softly, slowly, gracefully. And in that moment, you understand your new chapter has already begun. Not when everything became perfect, not when the pain disappeared, not when the loneliness ended, but when Jesus touched your heart and shifted something inside you. Newness always begins internally before it becomes visible externally. This is your turning point, the quiet start of everything God has prepared. If Jesus stood in front of you right now, looked into your eyes, deep into the places you hide, deep into the places you protect, He would say one word: beloved. Not forgotten, not abandoned, not unseen, not unworthy, not too broken, not too late, not too flawed. Beloved. Loved fully. Loved deeply. Loved intentionally. Loved eternally. And love like this does not leave you where it found you. This love transforms. This love heals. This love restores. This love builds. This love strengthens. This love protects. This love stays. You are His beloved, and nothing in this world can change that truth. If you stayed until this moment, it's not an accident. It's not random. It's not coincidence. Your spirit was hungry. Your heart needed healing. Your soul needed this reminder. You are not alone. Not now, not anymore, not ever again. Jesus has walked with you through valleys you never told anyone about. He has dried tears no one ever saw fall. He has protected you in ways you may never understand. He has carried you when you could no longer carry yourself. And now, He is calling you forward into healing, into clarity,
into peace, into purpose, into the life He designed for you since the beginning of time. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your restoration. I want to speak this over your life. May your loneliness turn into connection. May your confusion turn into clarity. May your fear turn into courage. May your heartbreak turn into strength. May your silence turn into purpose. May your tears water the soil of the blessings God is preparing for you. And may the presence of Jesus become so real in your life that you never again mistake silence for abandonment. You are loved. You are chosen. You are protected. You are guided. You are not alone. If something inside you shifted, if your heart feels lighter, if this video spoke to you in a way nothing else has, then I want to invite you to stay closer. Not just to the message, but to the journey. I create videos to speak exactly to hearts like yours. Tired hearts, lonely hearts, warrior hearts, healing hearts, chosen hearts. If you want more mensagens profundis, more words that touch the soul, more reminders of the love of Jesus, more strength for the difficult days, then you need to do one thing. Subscribe to the channel right now. Don't leave it for later. Don't say, "I'll do it later." If the video spoke to you, it's because you belong to this community. Click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to receive more messages that strengthen, heal, and renew your faith. Every subscription helps this content reach other people who today are as lost as you once were. And you may be the reason someone receives comfort exactly at the moment they need it most. You are not alone. God is not done with you. Your story is not over. Your future is not empty. Your heart is not broken beyond repair. Your purpose is not lost. Your life is not meaningless. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not rejected. You are loved by Jesus in a way nothing on earth can ever take away from you. This is not goodbye. This is only the beginning. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, may God bless you and guide you with love in every step of your journey.